All right, it says I'm live. It says I'm live, so we'll see how this goes. Been trying to work with this YouTube live thing for a while. If you're talking about something of substance, they really shake your platform to get you off of here. But I want to talk about this crash out, especially here in California, where women are crashing out over the food stamp program that Trump is proposing to cut back, as well as the Section 8. I mean, people are crashing out. So I was watching some videos and I see the people that are crashing out, and I'm just like, wow, this is amazing, right? You've got people on YouTube, and of course, white people are the biggest recipient of welfare. We all know that. Let's stop with the history lessons here. You know, I'm a pretty well-versed person. But I'm talking about my people, okay? If you saw me on the Demetra K show, I'm constantly telling you guys 70% of Black people live below the poverty level, at the poverty level, or just above it. That is fact. Only 30% of us are actually doing decent, you know, in regards to what's going on. You guys recently heard 106,000 Black educated, strong Black women have been laid off according to the job report. And that isn't a coincidence. That is a targeted effort to keep Black people in a position at the bottom. With all the craziness that's going on in the United States, the only saving grace that Black people have is the fact that we ain't got shit. I know you guys don't want to hear that, but it's a fact. The only people that are panicking are people who have something to lose, right? The boule. You know, if you guys notice that, all of the boule, all your boule friends that went to the HBCUs, and they're this and they're that, they're the ones bitching and moaning. But when you look at the everyday Black person that is just doing what they've been doing, hustling, struggle life, life goes on. They're still going to their cruises. They're still having their barbecues. Life, it is what it is. And I've told you guys that in a lot of revolutions, Russian Revolution, the French Revolution, the Cuban Revolution, the people at the bottom, it doesn't matter who is at the top. When you're at the bottom of an economic system, nothing changes for you. If anything, you have an opportunity to be better under the newer regime, right? Thus, if you look at Cuba, when Fidel Castro took over Cuba, 80% of Cubans look like me, 80%, and they love Castro. Why? He distributed the land. He took the power away from the white Cubans. This is why the white Cubans in Miami are so damn pissed off, because their wealth was taken from them and it was distributed to the mass Black ones. And guess what? Those Black Cubans' lives got better under Fidel Castro. So here in the United States, everybody's hollering and screaming about Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that, whatever. You know, again, white supremacy is white supremacy. I don't care what you think about Donald Trump. Did I vote for Donald Trump? Yes, I did. You're damn right I did. You're damn right I did. I wasn't going to vote for Democrats who were lying straight to you guys' faces. All of this stuff is coming out now, showing where the Democrats lied straight to their base and their supporters. And you got Black people still crashing out for the Democratic Party. I said it from day one, Kamala Harris was a very weak and bad candidate. Hey, Miss Shirley. What's up, Donovan? Happy I caught you. Yeah, I just went on here out of the blue because I'm trying to work with YouTube to get its kinks out and stuff, because when I do some really good political stuff, they shut me down. They shut me down. So I'm kind of trying to figure out how to maneuver on the YouTube thing and going live on YouTube. So thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. So this food stamp thing and welfare. Okay, let me get back to what I was saying. So yeah, I supported Donald Trump. And I think after 60 years of giving our votes to the Democratic Party for Black people to be in a worse position than we were 60 years ago is, there's got to be a reckoning sooner or later. Arson, what's going on? Everything you say on point. Yep. Thank you. Thank you. I wouldn't say everything, but I'm close. I'm close. Maya's sister. Hey, how you doing? Great to see you guys here. Why aren't y'all at work? No, I'm messing with you guys. Why aren't you guys at work? But anyway, glad you guys are tuning in. Please like, share, and do all this. I hope you guys saw Demetra and I's broadcast that's on Facebook. She's in town. She's right up the street at her brother's house, and she's here for her niece's graduation and stuff. And we did a live together and all that other stuff. Yes, Miss Shirley. Yes, you're retired just like me, so I get it. So we can sit around and lounge with our lattes and stuff, and just browse and see what's going on. Maya's sister says, I'm a college professor, done teaching for the, oh, that's right. Okay, if you're a teacher, yeah, you guys are done. Alicia, welcome. I can't believe you voted for Trump. Yes, I voted for Donald Trump. So let me ask you this, Alicia, and I'm glad you brought that up. Like I ask all of my Democratic friends, what is the Democratic Party going to do different to get my vote? They let all these illegals in, and Alicia, I'm not sure where you're at. I'm in California, okay? So I understand it's a regional thing of how the Democratic system affects you, but here in California, billions of dollars are going to illegal immigrants. And ask yourself this, we can't even give our citizens universal health care, but the governor authorized $22 billion added to the, it was 2-point-something billion was going to be added to the California deficit to support illegal immigrants that came into this country or into this state. Who has to pay for that? I do, right? All the money that went to the housing for these illegal immigrants, and we can't house veterans that are on the streets. The most unhoused and homeless people in California are Black women and children. This is Democratic state. This is a Democratic state. So why would I vote for Democrats again? Arson says, fine, not everything, but the essence of your message is there. I'm down here in Florida right now, and the hate for MAGA is strong, but the arguments remain baseless. Yeah. Arson, when you're confronted with somebody who has the hate for Trump, and to me, it's kind of ridiculous when somebody says I'm a super Christian, because you're not supposed to have hate for anybody. You might dislike a person, but I never have hate for a person. What is the Democrats' answer? I don't see them fighting. When Mitch McConnell was in the minority under Democratic rule, he used every trick in the book to fight the Democratic agenda. But the Democrats who are in the minority, what do they tell the American people? Nothing we can do. Our hands are tied. He's got the government. Are you guys still playing this R&D game? That's all it is a game. Right? They're in it together. Corporate Democrats, corporate Republicans, corporations. In early 2000, what did the Democrats say was the biggest problem in United States politics? Citizens United. That's exactly what they said. Citizens United is the biggest problem, money in politics. 8 years of Obama, did they repeal it? The first 2 years of Obama's administration, he had a supermajority. In the Senate, he had a supermajority. He could have done anything he wanted. We still didn't get universal health care. We wanted a public option. Couldn't do it. Then the Republicans come back in and control some seats, and then there you go. Joe Biden, first 2 years, he had everything. So when I see Democrats, and that's your right to be a Democrat if you guys are out there listening to me, what is the Democratic plan? What are they going to do different? Corey Smith, I voted for Trump. Yeah, I voted too. And my vote wasn't because I supported Trump. It was because I wanted to give the middle finger to the Democratic Party, who continues to do nothing for Black people as we are being systematically torn down in our wealth. Do you guys realize Black people are no more wealthier now than we were at the end of slavery, adjusted for inflation? Other groups come to this country and they do better than we do. Explain that. But the Democratic Party's for the Black people. The only reason Lyndon B. Johnson, president at the time, signed the Civil Rights Bill was because every Republican signed up to it and some moderate Democrats, and it passed. And if he didn't sign it, it was going to make him look really, really bad. But if you know your history, when Lyndon Johnson was the senator and the majority leader in the Senate, he upheld Eisenhower's civil rights bill for over 10 years. And by the way, how many of you guys know Eisenhower's a Black man? His mother's a mulatto. Google it, look it up, get back to me. Look at a picture of his mother. There's a picture of his mother. You can Google it, and you can look at her birth certificate, and it says race, mulatto. Think about it. Lisha says, I'm in Florida. However, I do agree with you on the Dems, and they're playing in our faces for 60 years. Yeah, Lisha, are we going to continue to me, it's almost insanity. You're going to vote for the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Now, the good thing about Trump screwing everything up and just destroying the country, if that's how you feel, white people are getting it, Asians are getting it, everybody's getting a piece of the pain, and it isn't just, well, most Black people, we ain't feeling nothing because we're at the bottom. That's my whole point. It doesn't matter who comes in. Most of us are at the bottom. I'm in California. I've lost a lot of money in my stocks. I don't even want to go into it. I've lost a lot of money in my stocks, right? But for me, it's worth it if it wakes us up and we be more educated as voters. No longer are we just going to vote for Democrats and just say, oh, here you go. And then we watch them play in our faces as they do for everybody else. And we pay for it. Doesn't make sense. They never have money for Black people, but they have money for everything else. Tupac said it best. They got money for wars, but can't feed the poor. And who is more poor than Black people in this country? I don't want to hear about American Indians. See, people that bring that up, that argument up, they don't know their history. There was a thing called the Freedmen's Bureau after Civil War, and that bureau was set up to facilitate everything freed slaves needed to be successful and to set themselves up in their own communities and to navigate this American nightmare, right? So after the Civil War ended, what did the United States do after the Civil War ended? You had all these troops. Of course, you had Reconstruction, so they had troops in the South and all that other stuff. But you still had an Indian problem, thus the rise of the Buffalo Soldier. So they took a lot of the troops to deal with the Indians in the West. Thus, the massacre of Custer and all that other stuff, the Indian Wars, right? So following the Freedmen's Bureau, they set up the Indian Affairs Bureau, right? Then when I think William Henry Harrison came in the presidency, or one of those guys, Benjamin, one of them came into office. And it was a compromise because the election was so damn close. So the Democrats and Republicans compromised. And they said, I think it was Tilden, he actually won the presidency, but it was so close it had to go to the House of Representatives, and there was a compromise, and the compromise was that they would pull the troops out of the South, right? Pull the troops out of the South, and they would get rid of the Freedmen's Bureau and let the Democrats back into power down in the South and get rid of the Freedmen's Bureau. But the one thing they didn't get rid of, which was the Indian Affairs Bureau, was modeled after the Freedmen's Bureau. The Freedmen's Bureau was first. Then there was the Indian Affairs Bureau. Do you guys know the Indian Affairs Bureau still exists today? It's buried in the Department of the Interior. A lot of people don't know because they don't want to do their research. And based on the Freedmen's Bureau, these Indian nations, because there are nations within themselves, according to treaty, they get all of their support and stuff funneled through the Indian Affairs Bureau, which comes through the Interior Department. A lot of people don't know that. So Arson says, they tell me he's racist and he is and is kicking immigrants out and saying that his tariffs are going to kill the economy. Well, his tariffs are doing this and doing that, but as a black person, and I've asked a lot of black people, how does it affect you? Have you been affected by it? No. Alicia says, I'm independent, became independent after I heard Biden scolding NWC members. That totally turned me off. Yeah, I've been an independent for a long time. That's why I'm known as the recovering Democrat. But well, Alicia, you're a professor, so you probably know more about this stuff than I do. You need to start getting your own page out there so we could get some knowledge, and get a different perspective. That's one thing I do like about the internet. You can get different perspectives and collectively come to a conclusion, right? And Alicia, as a professor, when people are doing their research, isn't that how it's supposed to go? You're supposed to get a bunch of sources and then come to a conclusion. Maya's sister, Donovan, Dems are done if 20% of black males and 10% of black females continue voting for Republicans. Yeah, Dems need close to 90% of the black vote. I don't see them hitting those numbers. Yeah, and more people are going, especially now as we see Donald Trump, this evil man that just hates black people and he hates everybody, right? He just pardoned a bunch of people being black. We had a black president that wouldn't pardon black prisoners. Matter of fact, he barely pardoned any black prisoners. Then you had Joe Biden, Mr. I'm reformed. He didn't leave no cover for all the black DAs and attorneys crashing out for the Democratic Party. But you got this crazy white man that just pardoned a gang, a leading gang member, and all kinds of stuff that's going on. It's crazy. Gerald Parker says Eisenhower was the last great Republican president. Johnson was the Democrats' last great president. Well, I don't know if Johnson was a great president, because again, when Johnson signed the civil rights legislation, a statement that he said behind closed doors was, I'll have these niggers voting Democrat for the next 500 years. And he's been so damn right. Johnson was a criminal. If you look at his history, he was going to be dropped from the ticket of JFK if JFK lived. It is said that he is part of a cabal that got rid of JFK. And I'm not saying JFK is any better, because he was full of shit himself. His brother was Attorney General, and their little push on civil rights toward blacks was minuscule, in my opinion. You have the power, and that's the little baby steps you're going to take, and talk about my hands are tied. Your brother's the Attorney General. You're the President of the United States. It's crazy. It's crazy. But what I got on here to talk about was, they're all talking about Donald Trump doing all this. I'm watching the videos. Donald Trump's, doing this. I'm seeing all these black women crashing out. It's just crazy. Oh, this one girl gets up there, the video I saw, and she said she was getting $700 a month in food stamps for her and her 2 children. She says now she's going to have to get a better job, because the job that she's got is barely making the means of what she's doing, right? She's barely making it with the job that she has. And as I'm listening to these women crashing out, and I was talking to a sister here where I live, and she was saying that her food stamps, are affected, whatever, and she was just complaining and complaining and complaining, right? And then she was mad at me because she knows, I voted for Trump. And she goes, see what you did, and blah, blah, blah. People like you and all this other stuff. I said, okay, yeah. However, not once in her statement did this woman ever say, I'm going to go get a better job. If somebody told me as a man, oh, my job is cutting 20% of my pay, I'm going to go either work a part-time job to make up the difference or whatever, especially if I got responsibilities of children. So as this lady's crashing out on me, I said, well, you got 2 baby daddies. What's the issue with that? But see, talking to her, I could hear she was a feminist. Oh, you don't need no man, girl, whatever. And I told her, sounds like to me, you need a man. She went ballistic. But do you see what I'm saying? Not once did it occur to her, I need to get a better job. I need to do better. I need to have peace with my baby daddies and get support from them, or more support that I can get from them. This is the one thing that I do like about Donald Trump. It has woken people up and said, we are out here on our own. The Democrats keep everybody to sleep. If Kamala Harris had won that election, which she wasn't going to win, more immigrants would have been pouring into this country. And as she's complaining about, and she's a Democrat, as she's complaining about her food stamps being cut, I had to ask her, I said, how do you think we are supposed to pay for these migrants? All these migrants that you Democrats let into this country that are going to be fucking and having babies with American citizens to have anchor babies, how are we supposed to pay for that? Taxes. How do you get those taxes? You increase everything in retail, in grocery, in auto. All of that's going to go up to support these people that they've let the floodgates in and we don't know who they are. But she doesn't see the correlation. You can't let 22 million people into your country and don't think that your expenses aren't going to go up. Again, we see Gavin Newsom here in California trying to pivot because he has aspirations to run for president. Even though they told him it would add $2.2 billion to let these illegal migrants on Medicare, he signed it anyway because the plan was to have a weekend at Bernie's president. And, that was the plan. The Democrats thought they were going to win. There was no doubt they were going to win. They were like, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to win. We ain't got to worry about it. And it backfired. Now all of the truth is coming out. And all of my Democratic friends have nothing to say. Nothing. Not even an apology. Donovan, and you were right about something. I'm not asking for the whole apology. But when you're wrong, you're wrong, Alicia says, yes, more bias having. Okay, but I said that one. M. Johnson. Gerald Parker Johnson was right. Yep. Arson. That's exactly the point. Too many Black people depend too much on these social programs. Change begins with ourselves. Exactly. How do we keep talking about, oh, Black people are great. We built the pyramids. We built this. In the last 60 years, and I'm only 55, I read about pyramids, but I don't see no great pyramid builders here in the United States. That's what I'm saying. We forgot who we were. The same person that houses you is the same person that can starve you or make you homeless. The same person that feeds you is the same person that can starve you. Maybe now Black men and Black women will come together by force if we have to and reset our communities the way they're supposed to be. Ladies, your role in society is to be a woman, and to be a woman is to be a man's helpmate. Do not sit here and tell me you are a Christian woman and you believe in God and you're going against the very godly principles that God set up. You can't tell me that. Well, I believe in God and all this other stuff. I'm not saying that they can't be women leaders. I just don't believe women should be leading men. That's all. You could lead other women. That's fine. That's fine. I just don't believe you should be leading men. Countless times when I ask women about certain things like their car, when your car breaks down, do you go to a woman mechanic or do you go to a male mechanic? 9 times out of 10, most women say they rather go to a male mechanic. I said, your house that you live in, who built that house? Was that a bunch of women construction workers or was that a bunch of men? The cell phone that you have in your hand, who invented that? Men. But I will concede this, ladies. There was a woman that invented navigation, GPS. I'll concede that, because you guys got tired of us getting lost as we're driving to the family, to the family picnic or whatever, and we won't take direction. That was a woman, fellas, if you guys don't know that. A woman invented GPS. That's a fact. You guys ever been with your lady and she's like, oh, turn left. And you're like, nah, I got it. And, because we're men, we're too prideful to say we made a mistake. And she's like, no, she's sitting there and she's telling us what to do. And we're like, oh, God. And we're trying to get out of it. A woman invented GPS because she got tired of telling us exactly, what we need to know. But feminism has destroyed the Black community. The other communities aren't destroyed because they know their role. It's about a role. How is it that you can tell me as a man, I'm supposed to work, I'm supposed to do this, and I'm supposed to do that? Traditional things that a men are supposed to do, set up by God. But at the same time, you're telling me your role, set up by God, isn't the same. I'm just trying to make it sound logical. If a man is supposed to work, what is it that God said a woman is supposed to do? Her number one job is to nurture children and be a man's helpmate. That is her number one job. I'm not a Bible scholar or anything, ladies, but I do read the Bible, and I've read the Bible. You guys got that program where you read so many verses a day, you can go through the Bible in a year, right? When Adam's job was done of setting up the earth, naming the animals, naming the rivers, and whatever else, it says, paraphrasing, God looked at man as he walked in the garden and saw that the man was lonely. Yeah, he's got the tigers, he's got the bears, he's got the giraffes, he's got all of that, birds, got the cats, got the damn dog. But man was lonely. So he put man to sleep, and from a rib, he formed a woman. And she was named Eve. And thus the man had a partner, a companion. That's the woman's primary goal set up by God. So my question to a lot of women is, who are you to assert what God put in place? If you're a Christian and you're a believer. That's all I have to say about it. I don't know why it is women think being a mother is such a terrible thing when, we hold our moms in such reverence in this society. I think being a mother is one of the hardest jobs. And I'm talking about a traditional mother. I'm not talking about these single mothers. There are women out there that are widowed mothers, totally different. A widowed mother is totally different. But women that make conscious decisions to be single, we're not talking about them. The hardest job in the world is to be a mother, a confidant, a friend, a partner, with the responsibility of the children. It's been said, and it's true. A community could go no higher than its woman. So if we see our women out there city girling it up, baby oiling it at a Diddy party, and we are acceptable with that, them being on OnlyFans and shaking their asses, how far do you think our community is going to go and how people view our community? Oh, it don't matter I don't care what people think. That's why you're struggling on government assistance. You're faking it until you can make it. Leisha says Newsom is done. Yeah, I mean, and then being Pelosi's nephew, yeah, he's done. Dear so don't say chat at afternoon. Yeah. Tiger, sexist BS here. Shake my head. How is it sexist? What did I say that was sexist? So, again, we have a feminist here, because if she just is saying that what I said was sexist, that's a feminist. And watch, she's going to get triggered because I called her a feminist. What did I say? Ladies that have some sense on here, what did I say that was offensive? And I didn't preface with what I believe. But see, this is the nonsense we're talking about in our community. People like Tiger. Either that's a feminist or it's a simp male. Dear Self says, both my neighbors, both women too, is a badass mechanic. She teaches and others and construction workers back in the 1980s when most women weren't doing it. But I agree, women shouldn't be in some positions. No, I'm not saying women can't be construction people. I'm not saying women can't be mechanics, whatever. What I'm saying is the majority of people in those fields are men. Women don't want these hard jobs that are traditionally male jobs. You got women pilots. I used to fly with a bunch of women pilots. They weren't that good, but they were there. Now, when it came to combat, when I was going into combat, I didn't want to fly with these women. Number one, I'm an average size man. If the plane crashed and they had to drag my body out, most of these women couldn't do it. And I would be basically burned alive. And that was one of my biggest fears. So I refused to fly in combat with a female co-pilot. I refused. I wasn't going to do it. And it's nothing against the woman being a woman. Physically, it's a fact. Men are stronger. Women don't have upper body strength. We don't. They don't. Now, do I believe women's bodies are superior to men? I believe that. When you could pass a basketball between your legs and the pain that women endure compared to men, absolutely. But I also attribute that to the role women play. Childbearing, very, very difficult to do. I don't know a man that's done it, but very difficult to do. So I give women their flowers in the aspect of what they're doing. But let's be real, ladies. Let's just be real. The facts are the facts. Women are not physically stronger than men. It's just a fact. You could be a 300-pound woman, 6'2". I will still whip your ass. I'm 5'10", 173 pounds. I will still whip that woman's ass. See, that's what I'm saying. We have this delusion that feminism has told us. I mean, look at some of these movies that are out there. Look at some of these movies that are out there. You got a 5'4", average size woman, 110 pounds, and she's the bodyguard of the president in whatever movie, and she's whipping the ass of a 200-something pound guys as she's going through the stairs. It's fantasy. It's not real. It's not real. It's just not. And we have to really come back to reality, to what's going on. What I mean, come back to reality as in regards to our community and what's going on. This is a chance for us to reset as a people. I mean, you don't have to agree with everything that I'm saying, but you can't tell me everything that I'm saying is wrong. You can't. 70% of our community, and that 30% that who's talking about the 30%? That was is that Lisha? Were you talking about the 30%? No, Maya. Maya Sisters was talking about. That's what we're talking about, that 30%. The 70% of us, we're not doing very well. And we've never done very well. We've never done very well. We've always been at the bottom. And the Democrats keep us there. Both parties keep us there, but the Democrats more so. Good cop, bad cop, right? Again, jobs report just came out. 106 Black women were laid off, fired. Most of those women work for the government, the federal government. But why is it that type of number got laid off? And what are the Democrats doing about it? Yeah, Trump laid them off, so get rid of them. I don't see the Democrats fighting for these women's right to work and all this stuff. They're just going along with it. Well, it's the federal government. He has the right to do that, but yet he doesn't. Wait, Trump has the right to do that, but he doesn't have the right to stop illegal immigration. Make it make sense, y'all. Please make it make sense. So I really do think our greatness will come out. And we always did. How many of you guys have been around, and I've been around a long time, in the 80s when the Reaganomics was happening? Graham Rudman, and they cut the food stamps in the 80s under Reagan. Everybody thought it was the end of the world. But somehow, some way, Black people navigated that. We're still here. It was predicted years ago that Black people wouldn't even make it to the 21st century. We're still here. Dear Self says, like a woman in the pulpit. No, yeah. My sister says, Donovan, sexual responsibility, selecting strong economic partners is something young Black females ignore. Speaking as Black female, Black mothers can live with parents to raise children. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Them doing this is going to make us make better decisions. You know what I mean? Well, I can't afford, like me, I only have two children. And the only reason I have two children is because I realized the lifestyle that I wanted to live, I couldn't afford any more children. I couldn't do it. Now I'm an older man. If I can get me a young one, I can have some more children and I can afford it. So now and I believe in the social welfare program. I believe in it. But do you guys realize if you go to any other country, there's no such thing as food stamps. The government doesn't pay for you to eat for free. Show me another country where they're going to pay for you and your irresponsibility to not be able to feed your family. There is no country in the world that happens. It is your responsibility to feed your children somehow. Now, I know in Britain or something like that, if you have a child, and depending on your income, they reduce your rent or something like that. It's in one of those countries, but there is no country where they're going to give you $700-800 in food. It's your job to do that. Hey, Maureen Chavez, good to have you. Lisha Monroe, I'm older than you. I was there during the Reagan era. Nah, you're not older than me. No, you're not. And if you are, you look damn good. So let me just say that respectfully. I don't know if you're married or not. As a 60-year-old FBA, the Black woman fought for equal pay for equal work. It was never about competing with our men. That was what white women were about because they had no say in their household. Enlightenment, I agree with you, but my understanding of that was white women wanted equal pay for equal work to bring it back to their family. They weren't even talking about leaving their man. Only in the Black community was it misinterpreted. Hey, I don't need my man. And then the laws were put up. You can't have Section 8 and have a man in the house. Right? If you got a husband, very rare you're going to be approved for food stamps. So I guess it is what it is. So, Lisha, you are older than me. Okay, well, like I said, you're looking that good. Okay, all right. I don't want you guys to say anything, but if Demetra's watching this broadcast or whatever, Demetra is 50-something years old, okay? She acts like she thinks she's 25, but let me tell you, the rabbit's getting old, baby, and I'm gonna have it at that, whatever the deal is now. But that I don't need a man came later. See, well, enlightenment, I just don't agree with that for the simple fact of I think it went hand in hand, because if you didn't need a man, why would you run to get government assistance? And don't get me wrong, I do understand some men's pride because they couldn't provide for their families in the 70s and stuff. And a lot of guys came back from Vietnam all fucked up. It was hard for them to let their families go into that system and they weren't allowed to live there with their family. So I get that too. But on a whole, if I was a person, a woman, and I can't bring the father of my children into the housing that the government is providing, why would I go? So it has to go hand in hand. I don't know if that's just, we're making an excuse for it or whatever, but logically that doesn't make sense. A lot of Black women in the 70s, my aunts and stuff, and I'm going to tell you guys straight up, my mom is the oldest of 12. She is the 8 daughters in that family, right? So I've got 7 aunts. My mother is the only one that married the father of her children. A lot of my aunts that have children, we don't even know who the father is. They might know, but we don't know. You know what I mean? I don't want y'all in my business, They get upset about the family tree, and then when you ask them, okay, I'll do the family tree because I'm a computer guy, Hey, we can do this real quick. The women never want to give up who the father is. So you've got children running around with my grandfather's name that aren't Hearst's. But when they're robbing and stealing and pillaging and destroying the community, that's the name that's in the paper and it's on the news. This is the destruction of our community. I mean, I know people don't want to talk about it, but it's true. Why are women so ashamed to put the name of the man they laid with and label his children? Why are they so afraid to do that? I have one aunt who, got with the street urchin, had 4 children for him. And these kids are their father's kids. They're just continuing the family business, but they have my grandfather's name and shaming the family. It's funny because I go home and I'm a Malloyd, right? I carry my father's name, right? And I represent my father to the fullest, even though I look like my mom's people. But I carry my father's name to the fullest, right? And then I look at all my cousins who are the children of my aunts. They all have my grandfather's name. And now they've had children that have my grandfather's name. Only in the Black community is the matriarchy strong. You go to any other community, the matriarchy is not strong. Only in the Black community, and that's done by design. Again, you got this tiger person. This is what we're talking about, the brainwashing. Whoever this tiger person is either a simp or a feminist. I don't think what I'm saying is irrational. I might not be hitting it 100%, but it's not irrational. And we're having a conversation, but you got this guy, this person named Tiger that comes in here, wants to take it to a totally different narrative. It's people like that that help destroy our community. And their job is to go into these platforms and to keep weak-minded people asleep. Democratic operative, whatever you want to call it. But ask yourself that. Why is it that they want these feminized Black men in the community? Be who you are. If you're a gay Black man or whatever, why do we have to know that? Do you guys really want to know my sexual activities? I don't think you want to know that, because I don't know if it would be no, I don't even want to say that. I don't even want to say that. The diddler's already on trial. So you guys don't want to know the stuff that I'm into, okay? But do you see what I'm saying? My whole point of what I'm saying? And I would never, and I don't understand this about gay people. Why can't you just be normal and go to your job and do what you do and be yourself, whoever it is? Unfortunately, in a society, we can't let you walk down the street in a G-string as a man. That's not going to happen. It's called indecent exposure or whatever, right? So we have these standards. What you do in your bedroom Have at it, Haas. Have at it. It's just crazy to me. But you've got these women crashing out about their food stamps. Now, let's talk as parents. If you have a child and that child has all the tools to go out there and make it in the world, or at least attempt to make it, how long as a parent are you going to continue to support your child? The child is 27 years old, right? They're still there. They're still at your house. When do you cut the support off? This is where we're at in America. 60-something years, and we're not progressing here, you guys. I was just talking to a therapist friend of mine, and they live in another country, and she's all pissed off at the fact that U.S. aid and whatever money has been cut back by the Trump administration. And I said, wow, that reminds me of the welfare system and how people are reacting to Section 8 being cut and all this other stuff. Ask yourself this, you guys, those of us that pay taxes, and I'm in California and I pay some serious taxes. Do you guys realize Israel has universal health care? Israel has free college education for their citizens. The United States, we give billions of dollars to Israel. And with the money that we give them, they can give their citizens free universal health care, a free college education. We can't even do that for our own people. Some of my foreign friends, they find it very strange that they can have universal health care, and in America, they're like, you got to pay for health care? What? Think about that, you guys. The reason why Israel can do that is because we give billions of dollars to them. All these other countries, their people are lifting themselves up out of a third world country. There are no more third world countries. These are all developing countries because our tax dollars are going to benefit them. And you mean to tell me we can't do the same thing for our people? So we can give money so other countries can get better, but we can't do it for our own people. And those very same people will leave their country, come into our country, and we give them everything they need to be successful, but we can't do it for people that are naturalized citizens. Yeah, and Lisha says it right there. That right there just pisses me off. We give them money, they go to college for free and get free medical. That should be pissing everybody off. And you got, some ignorant Americans, I'll just go to Canada and, get an operation over there. Have you guys ever thought about that? If universal health care in these countries is so free, why can't women go get BBLs in Britain and all these, these universal health care countries? Because it's not free. You want to know why it's not free? You're not a citizen. You're not a citizen. That's why it's not free. If you got in an accident in one of these countries as an American citizen, they're not going to let you die. They're going to give you the operation, whatever. But do you know they're going to charge the United States government for that operation? They want to be reimbursed for that operation. And then the United States government comes after you. As a veteran, there's a program. And for those of you guys that don't know, if you're a veteran and you're overseas and you are enrolled in the VA system, and let's say you get an accident in Germany and they work on you. There's a program called the Foreign Medical Program. Okay. It's through the State Department. State Department means all over the world, right? So if you're in these countries and you get sick or you have to be hospitalized, whatever, and you're in the VA system, they charge the VA. The taxpayer pays for it. It won't go to you as an individual citizen. The government won't come after you because you're a veteran. They're going to take care of that bill. It's a lot of you guys that don't know that. So Animal advocate Donovan, what do you think about people losing all those jobs? I don't think anything. 71% of your federal employees are white, or people that identify as white. I don't feel anything about them losing their jobs. Nobody is guaranteed a job in a capitalist system. They're not. See, that's what I'm saying. These people act like they are entitled to a job. You're not entitled to a job. And then ask yourself this, animal advocate, and I love your name because I'm an animal person myself. You have unions, right? Unions are supposed to protect the workers. What happened? Where's the union? You pay all this union dues so that you can sit on a job or whatever the deal is. Even when I was in the military, I worked in the airline business part-time as a manager or whatever. And I'm going to tell you, I work with the unions. You had people that work the system. I had to tell them, if we don't work together, there won't be no airline company. Then we'll all be out of work. The union guy who had his little office on the other side of the airport, oh no, I made him move his desk into my office. We're working together. We're not separate here. So federal workers have a union. What happened? So I don't feel nothing for anybody. And if you look at a lot of those people, federal workers, how old are they? A good portion of them are in their 70s, late 60s, 70s. They're just sitting on the job. And then, as we know, government gets bloated after a period of time. What was the biggest federal increase of jobs in the recent era of the United States? How many of you guys know that? Does anybody know the answer to that? What is the biggest increase of federal employees in the last 40 years? And it ain't the military. It's not the military. The military, you don't even put that in the equation. Military is something that society has to have. I don't know if they got an unemployment animal advocate, but I'm very sure that they do get it. You know, if you become an employed, stuff like that, whatever the system is, law is the law, whatever the deal is, especially if they're looking for another job. But at 70-something years old, animal advocate, I do know this. They were fired, but they were compensated by the government. They were given so much money, and they were let go. So I know that did that. Lisha, close. IRS, yeah, Joe Biden brought 80,000 IRS workers. You guys remember a thing called TSA in the early 2000s? And Homeland Security. There was no such thing as Homeland Security until after 9/11. That was one of the biggest bumps in the federal government. And then you got TSA, and it's really ineffective. They could have hired private security companies, which was happening, to do that. But you made it federal. And now we're finding out TSA is robbing passengers and all this other crazy stuff. Homeland Security and all this other stuff. It's crazy. But when government gets big, you've got to cut it back. See, and here's my thing with the Democrats. I want you guys to think about this, because you guys, you know what, as much as we disagree, a lot of you guys, we're kind of here on the same page. We're kind of here on the same page. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're an independent, whatever. I just like people who are logical thinkers. Okay? Here's my thing. Under Bill Clinton, was not the government rolled back? Military bases closed across the nation? Notice that the Democrats didn't have a problem cutting back federal employees and hiring freezes back then. And that was in 1996, I think, when he did that. Or 93. No, maybe 95. But the point is, a lot of government was scaled back under Bill Clinton. So let's just fast forward it, 1996 to now. That's about 40 years, right? You don't think we need to cut the fat around these jobs? And as we're finding, as all of these people have been laid off by the federal government, is the government still functioning? Yeah, it's still functioning. Because now you've got computers and things, you don't need all those people. And those people, being baby boomers, need to go home and enjoy your great-grandchildren. And let the other generations rise and support their families and get them off of government assistance. Lisa Rizzo says exactly. The NAFTA deal, yeah, opened our borders. The NAFTA deal opened our borders. Here in California, man, you could have a jacked up truck that doesn't meet American standards, but because it's from Mexico, it could ride up and down our streets. But let it be an American truck, they're hitting you with all kinds of violations. Doesn't make sense. Animal advocate, I couldn't stand Clinton. Yeah. Michelle, it depends what federal agency you work for. Not all of them got money. Yeah. HHS did offer those who were qualified for early retirement $25,000. My friend took it. She had been with federal government 40. Yeah, it all depends. But the point of it, Michelle, is you've got to cut the fat sooner or later. It's like the military. What, are we going to have 5 million people in active duty military and we're not fighting wars? No, you cut the fat, you let people go, and you bring it down to a level that's sustainable. It's like right now, have you guys heard that they're talking about bringing back a few battleships? Even though it's going to cost $4 to $6 billion to bring this battleship back, do you guys realize it's cheaper to have a battleship and to shoot $100,000, no, not $100,000, maybe $10,000 armament versus a $3 million missile? These are the things that people are trying to do to save the taxpayer money, because it's not sustainable to have these super smart weapons that cost $1 million plus a shot. Think about that. $1 million a shot to shoot at the Houthis, when you could just have a battle cruiser, battleship, to fire a few rounds into the spot. The only bad thing about a battleship, it's not precision, so there's going to be some collateral damage, unfortunately. So I hope they got to take home their retirement benefits at least. Yeah, no. When you're forced at government, most of those government employees were way past the retirement time. So yeah, they're going to get all their benefits and stuff. Animal advocate. Federal employees were treated like they were prima donnas. Now they are experiencing what we in the private sector has to deal with, a loss of jobs. Yeah, it's not entitled. You're not entitled to a job. You could be laid off at any time for any reason. Michelle says, cutting the fat, then turn around and raise the federal deficit doesn't make sense. But Michelle, why is the federal deficit being raised? When the military deficit budget is $1 trillion, you have a problem. And notice, nobody talks against the military-industrial complex. The military has never been smaller, but the budget keeps going up and up and up. Our intelligence, our intel constantly fails. And what's our answer to the intel? Give them more money. That is why Donovan is highly leveraged in defense industry stocks. You can't lose. Even when they screw up, we've got 3 aircraft carriers that are in dock right now, going through refurbishment through Northrop Grumman. You can't lose. They're going to be in dock for 6 years. You can't lose if you know the defense industry. You can't. Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, you can't lose. Atomic General, who does the drones, you can't lose. We just keep giving them money. The military budget is $1 trillion. And Dwight Eisenhower said, for every dollar that is given to the military industrial complex, steals the money and the food out of your children and grandchildren's mouth. Crazy. It's crazy, you guys. One of the biggest scams that are out there right now, solar energy. Anybody that knows anything, you could do solar yourself. You don't need a middleman. For what? You got to have a circuit breaker box and all that other great stuff that's upgraded to the, but who says you have to be tied to the grid? Have you noticed that? They never advertise not being on the grid. They want you to be tied to the grid so we can sell the energy back and all this. It's a scam. Then they put the solar on your roof. Now your roof is compromised. So your warranty on your roof is done. And most likely your insurance, you're going to be dropped by your insurance. Here in California, because of the fires, the insurance companies are dropping homeowners. Like if your house is old like mine, I was on the old code. If you don't have an upgraded circuit breaker panel, they're going to drop you because the potential of fires, because of the load that comes into your house, because people are consuming more power, the insurance companies are dropping you. And the federal government is allowing it. Think about this. You've never had a problem with your insurance company. You paid them for years. And all of a sudden, they can drop you and not give you your money back. You didn't do anything wrong other than that they changed their bylaws and said, you know what? You got to do this or we're going to drop you. And they get to keep your money. Both parties have no problem with that. How many of you guys know this? Your insurance company can drop you based on the dog you have on your property. There's a list of the top 10 dogs that you do not want to have according to the insurance company because it puts them at a liability. So let's say one of the dogs, very popular dog, a German Shepherd, very popular dog. Everybody has a German Shepherd. If you've got a German Shepherd, your insurance company can drop you. Why? Because if that dog gets out and bites somebody, the insurance company is going to have to cover that, right? This is the stupid stuff that's going on. And both parties are cool with it. Yeah, solar energy, yeah. Here in California, a lot of homes now are being built with solar energy as part of the roof. It's like built into the roof, into the system. Thus, your house is a lot more expensive. The medium house in California is $800,000. So right now, you guys are looking at basically a millionaire. I'm a millionaire and I'm poor. Make it make sense. Lisha says, they do that a lot in Florida. Yeah. Yeah, you know, my dog is a questionable dog. It's mixed. I'm not sure what it's mixed with. Boston Terrier, something. People say it looks like a pit bull, but I'm not exactly sure. Exactly. So if you got a questionable dog that is on the list, go to your veterinarian or to the animal shelter and have them relist it as a dog that's not on the list. Okay, because unfortunately, you go to the shelter, every dog in there is a pit bull for some reason, or pit mix. So yeah, but I don't want to take too much of you guys' time. It's been an hour. I just wanted to go and say that a lot of these young girls who come from single family homes led by women, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. My mother was a widow, and you know, whatever. But if you're only taught struggle life, all you're ever going to live is a struggle life, unless you want better for yourself. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of pain going through all of this. But you know what, you guys? I think it's for the better, especially for us as Black people. We are going to have to learn to get along and to communicate to each other. I know there's a lot of things, and me and Michelle W., we don't get into it, but we have like deep discussions, and we might not agree all the time. But the point is, we've got to communicate to each other and see where we stand. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I do have an opinion on things, and you can't tell me everything that I'm saying is wrong. A woman cannot tell a man how to be a man, just like a man cannot tell a woman how to be a woman. But I can tell a woman how to be a partner to me, right? Enlighten says, Donovan, did you know that on April 15th that Spain went 100% green energy? Then on the 20, and then they lost all that power. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And down in Texas, because they're not on a grid, right? Texas, as the Californians move over there and buy the homes and stuff, people are consuming more power that they've never done before, and they're having like rolling blackouts. California in the 90s, we used to have rolling blackouts, and it's think about it. We got Tesla cars. They haven't upgraded the power grids. We're spending all of this money supporting illegal immigrants and all this other foolishness, but we don't have the money to upgrade our basic power infrastructure. But we got Teslas everywhere in Southern California. $3 billion and counting on a high-speed rail that goes nowhere. All of this is our fault at the end of the day. We could blame Maxine Waters. We could blame this person. We could blame that person. But at the end of the day, we got to look at ourselves because we're allowing this. How many of you guys have seen my videos of me at city council letting that mayor have it? You know, it doesn't do much of anything to do that, but it does let the mayor know we're watching him and it ain't happening. But in our community, we need to communicate better between men and women. You know, Michelle says our system is all messed up. Lisha says, I agree. These 70 plus federal workers all need to go and sit down. Yeah, there should be a mandatory retirement age. Other countries have mandatory retirement ages. Do you know, I think it's in, where's it at? Switzerland or something like that. If you retire from a job and then you go get another job, the most you could make at that other job is minimum wage. At 70 years old, who wants to go work for minimum wage? Nobody. And it discourages the older people from taking jobs that younger people should be having to garner a work ethic. It's messed up here, y'all. It's messed up. You know, Alicia, you saw it when I was letting them have it. Go back and see some of my other videos, man. I was just, man, it was crazy. So, you know, and the thing is, I'm not always on point, but my point is, we've got people, our people, we don't show up at city council. We don't show up. That is what affects us immediately. Their decisions there. Black people in my town is a third black. They show up after everything has been approved. The planning commission is final. Oh, there's a liquor store in my neighborhood. And it's too late. Where were you 2 months ago when they were? I don't know how you could live in a community and you don't know what's going on in that community. But that is where you chose to live and invest your American dream and buy a house there. But you don't know shit about what they're doing in that community. You know, an animal advocate, you know, some people never want to retire, you know, and that's everybody's right. Some people just like to work and, you know, they're addicted to that. And that's great. But there does come a time where you're going to have to walk away. Like I said, if I could have stayed in the military to fly those big airplanes and do that for a lifetime, that would have been great. But that's not reality. I have to move on to let the younger people come in. And then now I look at all the gays in the military. When I was in the military, that was unacceptable. See, so if I would have stayed in the military, I would have been a problem. Just like we saw Joe Biden. He is a problem. He was a problem. He had no clue what was going on. We don't know who's been running the government. We don't know. But they kept gaslighting us, talking about, oh, that's a AI fake. The guy is sitting here shaking hands with ghosts, and they're telling us, don't believe our lying eyes. It's sad. It's just sad, man. Michelle says, we don't have term limits, so how in the heck are we going to tell someone when they should retire? Exactly. That's what I'm saying. We need to have term limits. But unfortunately, these people get in there and they make the laws to protect themselves. But notice when the white people rise up January 6th, Look what happened there. That was a message. And guess what? They all got pardoned at the end of the day. We get black representatives that go up there and have nothing to show for it. Charlie Rangel, longtime representative from New York, Korean War veteran, salute his veteran status. People were big upping him. Oh, he's such a great man, died at 94 years old on Memorial Day. God rest his soul. But I had to tell the truth because people weren't telling the truth about this man. He came into office, like a lot of them did, and left office in disgrace and left the community worse than when he got there. Think about it. Jim Clyburn came in when the neighborhood was still okay. He's going to leave it worse than when he found it. Maxine Waters came in. She's leaving it worse than when she found it. These are the facts, y'all. When you got black women crashing out about welfare and Section 8, you didn't see that in the 80s. You didn't see that because we were more family oriented. But feminism and the Democratic Party is damn hell bent on destroying the black community. What's left of it? Alicia says, true. Animal advocate, I will move over for the younger generation, but I want a source of income. So I'm creating businesses. But see, animal advocate, you hit it right there. Why didn't you have that mind? All right, can you guys hear me now? Sorry about that. All right, can you guys hear me? Give me a thumbs up or acknowledgement. Yes, okay, sorry about that, you guys. I didn't even realize the thing went out. God, I've been on here a long time. Damn it. Thank you, guys. Okay, no Sam Clyburn's trash. Look at all the commercials today. Almost every commercial with a black person in it. They are almost always with someone white. Why is that? Programming us not to be together. Exactly. And then, have you noticed this, Michelle? That statue that's in New York, I don't know how women could defend that. That is not a good representation of Black women. You have a lot of successful, beautiful Black women, and that's the statue they put up. But notice the Democrats ain't saying nothing. Jasmine Crockett ain't saying a damn thing. My beautiful niece is in the chat. Oh my gosh. She must be taking some time off her job as she's sitting at home with her cats. You're on mute. No sound, no sound. We can't hear you. No audio. Okay, got it back. Please repeat when sound comes back. Jasmine says yes. Adam Advocate says, actually, I always had business on side of a job because jobs are unstable and not to be dependent on. Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying, Animal Advocate. We have to get back to teaching our children to be resilient. You're not going to be young forever. And nothing against the ladies. And ladies, don't get me wrong. You guys see Demetra and I get into it all the time. At 50-something years old, you are not in your prime. I'm 55. I am not in my prime. But women think they can still compete with younger women. My niece, beautiful girl. She's getting kind of old now too. So she's 30 years old, I think. Yeah, she's 30. 30 years old, no children, beautiful, whatever. Went to Spelman, so they already ruined her. So they ruined her. But the point is, a 50-year-old woman cannot compete with the 30-year-old woman. Those are just facts, ladies. It's just facts. You guys are probably past your childbearing years. You're stuck in your ways. You're mature. You know what you want. You're more, whatever the deal is. So it's lunacy. It's a part of feminism that don't understand it. And by the time the women realize what has happened, it's too late. Because most of the good men that you guys should have prioritized have already gotten married. All of my boule friends, all of my friends that are boule, that are making good money and living their lives, because they don't care nothing about the Black community. Beautiful wives that they met in college and they got married, whatever. Most of my military officer friends, it is very rare in the military you're going to find a Black officer that is not married. And usually he married his college sweetheart or high school sweetheart, and he's already there. So those men are already taken. At 50-something years old, I got a friend, she's 50-something years old, 2 baby daddies, 2 of her sons went to prison, the fathers, whatever, she's been dating and she ain't finding the right guys, and she's attracting those guys that have lived that street life, and they're broken down and they're still trying to hustle. They're not in the street hustling, but they're trying to, do something with their lives because they spent most of their life incarcerated. Now they're out. This is the men that she has to deal with. This is her pick of the litter. Animal Advocate, yes, I can hear. Animal Advocate says, actually, the mixed couples were encouraged because they were outlawed in the past. Yeah, I get that. And then, of course, you got a lot of, I've never dated a white woman, but you got a lot of, brothers out there that it's something in our minds. We think, that's better. You got a lot of women that are, what do you call them, swirlers or whatever, whatever they call them. I've never done it. So I've never seen a white woman that I've been attracted to. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it. I'm saying I've never seen a white woman that I've been attracted to. Because it's proven. They get to their 40s and these women look horrible. Horrible. I hate the Aunt Jemima looking statue. Aren't they getting rid of that statue soon? No, they're not. They're not getting rid of that statue. Why would they do that? That statue is awful. Oh, that program goes on further than this. It's in the movies. Yeah. Hey, Awful Out Loud. I'm not old. That's my niece. Yeah, you're old. You're 30. You're 30. You're in your 30s. That is old. You are a mature woman now. You're not that Spelman student. You are a woman now. So no excuses for you. And she's a cat lady. She's a young cat lady. We groomed my nieces to love animals like I was groomed to love animals. So she's a cat mom for right now. And again, she's doing it right. She's not bringing any children in here that she's not ready to handle. And of course, she ain't got no husband, so it is what it is. At least Alicia says, I know my place in the world good. Animal advocate, oh no, I don't compete with younger ladies. I try to help teach them. I know my looks are not like my youth. Okay, so okay, okay, great, yeah, and that's what we need to be doing. You know what I, in my opinion, there's not a lot of black people in California left, but the women that I do see, they're not teaching the younger girls, and it's sad. Have you guys ever seen videos on YouTube where like that clown show, the Kendra G singles, and the girl will get up and do the body shot and she'll stand up and behind her, her house looks like hell? Have you guys ever seen that? So imagine if this woman had children and daughters, what is she teaching her daughter? I have actually been in homes with girls, ladies that I'm dating, and there's like clothes in the front, whatever, and then she's like, oh, excuse me, I'm done. I'm out. I'm out. Donovan, I couldn't agree with you more. Wow. I mean, look, when the Empress, Miss Shirley, agrees with me, I'm on the right track. So there you go. Arson says, I'm still not sure what meaning of the New York statue is. It is a depiction. This is my opinion, but I think I'm kind of a little bit right of his. Remember, what is the greatest city in the world? Everybody wants to come to New York. It is, that statue is a reinforcement of what America projects about Black women and Black people. Problematic, difficult, alone, combative. That is the aura that they send out to the world. The city girl thing. What do you think all that's about? This reinstates that, because think about it. You don't put statues up. What do you put statues up for? Heroes, people of significance. It reinforces that statue's status in culture. That statue that they put up there is a misrepresentation of Black women in America, period. If they wanted to put up a city girl statue, why didn't they do that? And put it in the, you know, the downtrodden district where it belongs. But no, you're going to put a statue where people that come to New York City could see it and say, wow, those things we hear about Black women, I guess it's true. Look at the statue. They're glorifying it here in the United States. It's crazy. Enlightenment says, I agree with you that women have a specific time frame. You depreciate as you age, coming from a 68-year-old. Well, what we mean by depreciate is you don't, you know, women have a shelf life. I mean, there's certain things women can do, and there's a time limit. So again, they say the prime age of a woman is her childbearing years. Her prime, they say what a woman's prime is between the ages of what, 15 and 27. My grandmother, who had 26 live births, she had more kids than that. She had her first child when she was 14. And she had a child every other year. Well, this is on my dad's side, okay? My dad's the second oldest. She had a child every other year. So, yeah, you're in your prime childbearing years. I think it's what, 34, 35. It's called geriatric pregnancy, where it's a little bit more dangerous. I know technology's gotten better, but the term is still there. So, but yeah, a woman's prime objective is childbirth. I mean, that's, without women, we can't bring forth children. A man, I can't plant my seed and bring forth children. If, you know, the women are the vehicle to bring those children forward. And unfortunately, because of economics, a lot of women refuse to have children because, number one, they can't afford it, or they don't have the man to have children with. You know what I mean? It's sad. And we are seeing, like Rome and every great civilization in history, America has been on the downfall since the end of World War II. Michelle says, I'm not trying to compete with younger women. I am 54 and looking good. My son tells me that I look better than the younger and older ladies on this job. Yeah, no, there's a lot of older women that look damn better than a lot of these younger women. And it goes to show you the stress that these younger people are under. I was at the gym a couple of weeks back, and I'm, talking to, how guys get together and we're talking. You see the young guys there. And these kids thought I was like 38 years old. They thought I was in my late 30s. I was like, no, I'm 55. What are you talking about? But some of them, and then the guys that are my age, oh my God, some of these guys look like they're in their 70s. But see, that's what happens when you burn the candles at both ends. It's just how it is. And then for those of you guys that know me, my niece and I look like my grandmother. My niece looks just like my mom. And then I look like my mom. So when people see my niece and I together, they say, oh, that's your daughter? No, it's not that's my brother's daughter. But, some of these people are living that hard life. It's just sad, man. Yeah, animal advocate, and you're 68 too. Yeah, see, so yeah, you guys are, I just wish these younger people would look at our mistakes and our grandparents' mistakes and not do it, not do it. I mean, in today's economy, I don't see how these young people are going to make it. One income. Think of the craziness. These young girls have been brainwashed by feminism so bad, they would rather pay 100% of rent than 50% of rent. Doesn't make sense. Yeah, Lisa says, no, I don't do prisoners. He's out. He's been paroled. He's not a prisoner anymore. Arson says, speaking of the boule, over the years, a lot of money has gone in their pockets. When it hasn't, they were always in a position to fight for the reputation you want to have. Yeah, and they refuse to do anything. And then we got idiots like Travis Hunter. You guys know the story with that. He's been warned. He's been told. Nobody told him not to marry who he loves. The women say, oh, he can marry who he wants. Y'all just hating on him because he's in love with his woman and y'all ain't got no woman. No, that ain't what we're saying. Statistically, 60% of all marriages in the United States fail. All I'm telling Travis is protect your money. You could have the girl, but statistically, the odds are against you. So I'm glad the youth and it's all issues are gone. Yeah, I went to New York. Animal advocates. I went to New York back in my teens. Never will go back. Too fast for me now. I had my kids way after 27 years old. I was way too immature for children. Yeah, so like I said, technology makes it better, but it's still risky. And then, as we know, when Black women are dealing with medical issues, for some reason, bad things happen when Black people are under the medical care in the United States system. We know this. They do things to us. They sterilize our women. All kinds of crap happens. When you've got people that are advocating to delete their babies and want society to be okay with it, Sodom and Gomorrah, we're already there. Animal advocate, you definitely don't look 55, Donovan. Thank you. But let me tell you, I might outside might look different. 70-year-old body. Trust me, it's bad. It's bad. Okay. Thank you, Liz Shamuro. Thank you. Nobody wanted to marry me that young. I don't know. Like I said, you guys remember back in the day? Back in the day, if you wanted sex, you had to get married. There was always that girl that everybody kind of went to, or in the community, you had the brothels or whatever in the community. Like Richard Pryor, he grew up in a brothel. His grandmother was a madam and all that other stuff. But in general, if you wanted to have sex, you had to get married. Back in the day, that's how it was. If you wanted sex, you had to get married. But now, women, we can do whatever a man does. Different outcome. It's a totally different outcome. Now you got women that have these high body counts, and then they wonder why nobody is taking them seriously. Arson, regarding the age, you and Demetra look fantastic. Stress is the silent killer. Yeah. No, Demetra's lucky because she looks almost exactly like her mom. So, and her mother was beautiful up until the day she passed. That woman was a beautiful woman. When I first saw, I was like, shit. I'm a young, teenage guy. Shit. Fellas, you know what I'm talking about. You see that mom that's kind of like, yeah, man, that's your mom. So Shirley says, I believe it because the stress that is placed on Black ADOS people in America. Yeah, no, the stress that we go through, it's ridiculous. And then when these other groups come in here and they want to down talk us and all this other stuff, we're the only group. Our language was taken. Our culture was taken. We had to learn English. We had to learn the American way. We weren't allowed to go places and move and have our own communities. We weren't allowed to do these things. And because of us, these other groups come here and they don't even have the damn respect to know the history of our struggle so that they could have some damn empathy of why we need reparations and why we need these things. And if you guys don't believe what I'm saying is true, why do you have a little Havana? Why do you have a little Saigon? Why do you have a little Africa? They don't even want to live with us, and they don't even want us to live in those communities. And then when we try to do our own community, they do everything to stop it. They won't let us put our businesses in their communities. But they have no empathy with us when it comes to us needing reparations. Because of us, we let these MFers into the country, and this is how they pay us back, by stabbing us in the back. No empathy for what Black people went through. I'm of African descent, but I have no clue of where I'm from. I'm more white than I am African. But I look African or Cuban. All these other people have their cultures. Enlightenment says, back in the day, the brothels. We need to bring that back, by the way. We need to bring legalized prostitution back. We need to legalize prostitution in the United States. You might as well. You've legalized weed. The girls are selling themselves anyway. San Bernardino, when I go to the VA up there, there's a whole tract of, and this ain't like older women that are trying to feed their children. These are like 19 these are young girls out there selling it. And you can, we have a police blotter and you can see them. You're like, wow, they're strung out on dope or they're on weed and whatever. It's sad. It's sad. So, why not, if these girls are going to be on OnlyFans and doing what they're doing, why not tax it and make some money and get and help the community, Alicia Morosa, I like Demetra's voice. She sounds like Nell Carter. Yeah. I used to tell her that all the time. Arson says, paying 100% rather than 50 with a partner. This is what happens when we follow trends of what men should be like, and women think they don't need men. Collectively, we must think economically. Exactly. So what I'm saying is, women are going to work. That's where we're at today. Women are working and men are working. So collectively together, I could give 50% of the rent. You pay 50% of the rent. Makes sense to me. Collectively, as a family, the money goes into the pot. So you're both, doing it. But I don't need no man, whatever. But you're on the blade selling cootie cat. But you don't need no man. And then you're hollering and screaming on YouTube about your food stamps being cut and your Section 8 being cut. Fellas, ladies, and please excuse me, but I'm a truth teller. Poo Nanny is going to be on the premium, $20. If things keep going the way they're going, it's going to be $20. And I'm not talking about an older chick. You could probably get a 24, 25-year-old, $20. Her lights are about to be cut off. And it's sad that I have to say that, but it's true. Their mindset, they don't want to go out and work 2 jobs. They don't want to do that. They don't want to settle down to a good choice. They say, ladies, a lot of the guys that were probably sent by God for you or whatever, you probably didn't like that guy. He was a nerd like me. I was a square. I was always known as a square. I wasn't street, because I was a military kid. So I don't know. I know about the streets. I got relatives that are in it, but I'm not from the streets. So I was always the square guy. I did karate. I played organized basketball. I'm educated, whatever. I was skinny. I was not the prime choice guy, right? I can't tell you guys, of all the women that have tried to reach back and have a conversation with me. And the first thing that I say is I remind them of what Beyonce's mom said to Richard Lawson when she was married to Richard Lawson. She woke up one day at 70-something years old and said to herself, she deserves better. At 50-something years old, these girls that I used to know, or, when we were younger, have kids for other men, now want to formulate a relationship with me for whatever reasons. He's an officer, he owns his house, he owns his car, he travels, he's got all his teeth. All of a sudden now I'm prime choice. But you're 5'4", 265 pounds with a hair hat on your head. I just can't. I'm gonna tell you guys a story real quick before I get out of here. My nieces, when they were younger, there was this girl. They were like fourth grade or third grade, and they had a teacher's aide there that they loved her. Her name was Miss Trey. Miss Trey. They loved Miss Trey. And they go, oh, Miss Trey, our uncle, whatever. And Miss Trey was like, oh, I want to meet your uncle, whatever it was. So I fly in, whatever I was doing. I don't know if I was stationed here or whatever I was at. But, I was in the military. And I fly in, and Miss Trey sees me, and she looks at me like I'm a spare rib. Here's the catch. Miss Trey was missing her front tooth. Little overweight. She was a cute lady. Don't get me wrong. She was cute, but now remember, my nieces are like fourth and fifth grade. They're just young kids. And I go over to them, and they're like, oh, we love Miss Trey. We love, see, look at Jasmine Art. They still love Miss Trey. See, Jasmine, didn't I not go to you guys and I said, do you guys not think of your uncle better than this? Doesn't your uncle deserve better than this? But their love for Miss Trey, they're like, we want to give you our uncle because he's handsome. I said, don't you guys think of your uncle better than this? And Miss Trey and I met her and we hung out for a little bit, but it just didn't work out. And Miss Trey is doing very well for herself to this very day. But my nieces, they love Miss Trey. And the girl that I was in love with, my nieces wouldn't even do me the courtesy of jumping the girl. I just asked them to do one thing, beat her up. Don't kill her, just beat her up, hurt her really bad, and leave it at that. But no, they love Miss Missy. Oh my God, I was just like, ugh. So you guys don't know the pain I've been in my life when it comes to women. It's been very painful. The women that I love could never get them. Never get them. My nieces refuse to jump these girls. See, I love Miss Missy. And we're all still friends to this very day. But, all right, animal advocate. You got married at 38 and had my first child at 39. Right on. Okay. Yeah, Michael Pan says, I have empathy for Black Americans. No brothels, Donovan. Well, let's create a red light district like most countries and make some money off of it. Arson says, wait, serious question. There's a little Africa. No. Well, it isn't Little Africa in name, but I know Houston has a huge Nigerian community down there. Here in, I think, West Covina, there's an African community. They just haven't named it like that, but that's their community. They do. Arson says, about Africa versus Black America, the only perspective they had of Blacks before arriving was always based on the media's projection of you. Yep, it's what they sent out. Yeah, we still see it now. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A lot of Americans do not realize how we are perceived outside of the United States. That's why I tell these feminazis, when you get outside the United States, the patriarchy is very strong. So you better be thankful you get away with what you get away with here in the United States, because outside of the United States, it's a totally different ballgame. Men will not tolerate, and their society will not tolerate disrespecting of the men. It just won't happen. So anyway, I've been boring you guys enough. Whatever your opinion is of Donald Trump and what is going on, we can come to the conclusion that this is the wake-up call Black people needed, and it's long overdue. So don't forget to check out Dimitri and I on Sunday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. And don't forget to download the African Diaspora News Channel app and all that other great stuff. You guys have a wonderful day. You guys be blessed. And again, these great conversations is what we need, is to communicate. You guys do not have to agree with anything that I've said on this program, not one bit. But I do want you to think about what I said, because I'm not always 100% right. I think I am, but I'm not always 100% right. And my nieces will tell you that. I always think I'm right, but I know for a fact I am not always right. So collectively, we need to change the narrative within our community. And we got to concentrate on us first, not everybody else. Whatever everybody else is suffering, I don't care. I got to take care of my people first. Then I can worry about somebody else. You guys be safe. Have a great day. Be blessed. And you guys do not sweat the technique of what the Democrats and the Republicans are doing. White supremacy is white supremacy. Period. All right. You guys have a great one.